Hi everyone, welcome back to the techyned blog. Hope you're doing great and thank you so much for always tuning in. And yes, a kind reminder, if you're just joining us and you've not subscribed, we want to encourage you to subscribe because we share videos on how to help you or support you become better practitioner on the field as a business analyst, Scrum Master, or even a project manager, or even when you are taking your exams, help you with preps and what to read and all whatnot. So today we are going to dive into strategy analysis, which is I think is one of also my favorite knowledge areas IBA. On apart from elicitation and collaboration and also preparing for elicitation and stuff. So now we're just going to do an overview. Then we now go into all the areas or all the tasks. So looking at strategy analysis. So you want to know how you want to start, how you want to strategize, go about stuff. So the first thing you'd want to do is to analyze current state. What is business currently doing? Okay, what is business currently doing? That's a good question for you. Then also define future state. So since we know that business is operating paper currently and they want to move to paperless, so how do we go about that future state? So when you've decided, okay, I think this may work and all whatnot, now you also assess risk of moving forward from here. Okay, then you go into define strategy, change strategy. So what happens, because yeah, you a change driver, whatever you're bringing it, moving from paper to paperless is a huge change. So you can imagine. So you need to define your change strategy. So also a kind of reminder, we're not sponsored by IBA or even PMI or Scrum.org. We're just sharing our knowledge, okay? So now, strategy defines the most effective way to apply the capabilities of an enterprise in order to reach a desired set of goals and objectives. So it helps you to define the most, to apply the most, apply the capabilities of an enterprise in order to reach a desired set of goals and objectives. So you are trying to apply, within the boundaries of what an enterprise can do in order you use what they have in order to achieve a goal or objective. So it's telling you that you have to work with the enterprise actually. Okay, you don't work just as like the business analyst. So you have to know what is obtainable and how you can use that to achieve whatever goal or objectives you've set up. So strategies may exist for the entire enterprise. Okay. So these strategies could be for the entire enterprise, maybe entire ministry, entire corporation, and all whatnot. It could be for a division. So inside the enterprise, you have divisions, okay? You have different sections and all whatnot. And it could also be for a department or region. Okay, so for example, in an enterprise, you have the financial department, you have the security department, you have an all. So it could also be like, it could be streamlined to just a department or region, west, north, east, and south. And for a project or iteration. So it can go on and on and on. It could be for a particular product, maybe a department or a team is using a particular product. So you want to strategize. It could be for a project, it has a start and end finish date. It could be all iteration. Maybe you are doing it the Scrum way. Okay. So that means like you develop, you add to what you already have. So it is an iteration. Okay. So the strategy analysis knowledge area describes the business analysis work that must be performed to collaborate with stakeholders in order to identify a need of strategic or tactical importance. Remember when at the beginning it was all about strategy, okay? Tactical importance when it comes to cooperation. So the business need. So enable the enterprise to address that need and align the resulting strategy for the change with higher and lower level strategies. So let's take this again bit by bit. So the strategy analysis knowledge area describes the business analysis work. So it describes the work you will do as a business analyst that must be performed to collaborate. So whatever you're going to do, you want to do it, you are doing it towards collaborating with stakeholders in order to identify a need. So you are working collaboratively with your stakeholders to identify a need of strategic. So of strategy that means this they want to achieve this for a certain purpose, okay? Or tactical importance. So it's important to the ministry, it's important to the enterprise, to the corporation, to the firm, and all whatnot. That's the business need. You're trying to like extract the business need. So enable the enterprise to address that need. So you're trying to work with them to address their need, to identify their need and to address their need, right? And align the resulting strategy for the change with higher and lower level strategies. So for example, you are doing this for a particular department, but you know that in that corporation or in that enterprise, there is like the strategy set in the higher upwards. Okay, so you are when you guys have already discovered that what you're supposed to do, you try to align it back to whatever decision leadership has taken to make sure that it falls in line, right? So that they are not saying, oh, we need to cut costs or we need to save costs, and whatever you are bringing in is trying to make them spend. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, so you align with the department, the regions, and all whatnot. So strategy analysis focuses on defining the future and transition states needed to address the business needs. So you are trying to, define the future state. What happens in the future? What happens from here? Okay, and transition. Moving from one state to another needed to address the business that you guys need to address the business need. And the work required is defined both by that need and the scope of the solution space. So whatever you do, what defines it is the scope, okay, and the solution space. So it's defined both by that need, so the need of that business, and the scope of the solution space. Okay, it covers strategic thinking in business analysis, as well as the discovery of imagining of possible solutions that will enable the enterprise to create greater value for stakeholders and or to capture more value for itself. So whatever you do, you are trying to bring in change, you are trying to make things better, okay, and you're trying to like whatever solution you are bringing in, it is to enable the enterprise, okay, so to make more money, create more value, with your stakeholders for the enterprise. So strategy analysis provides context to requirements analysis. So it's kind of gives meaning to your requirement analysis and define and design definition for a given change. So it makes it have more sense. Like, okay, whatever we are doing, it now falls back or boils back to, okay, your requirement analysis and your design definition, because whatever strategy analysis you provide, it's paves way, or it gives sense, or makes whatever you do there from there makes more sense. So strategy analysis should be performed as a business need is identified. So once you identify a business need, you will need to do a strategy analysis. This allows stakeholders to make the determination of whether to address that need or not. So whatever comes out from your strategy analysis, it helps your business to address the need. Like, say, do we want to go ahead with this or not? For example, when they look at the risk or when they look at the future state, they will start asking themselves internal questions: are we ready for this or not? And yes, remember that, for example, when it comes to change, you have to assess the readiness of that company or the enterprise, because you don't want to go in blindly and start changing stuff and people are tell you at the end of the day that they're not ready. Strategy analysis is an ongoing activity that assesses any changes in that need in its context, or any new information that may indicate that an adjustment to the change strategy may be required. Just telling you that this is a continuous thing. Okay, you look at stuff continuously, you review information that may indicate that an adjustment to the change strategy may be required at any point. So the following image illustrates the spectrum of value as business analysis activities progress from delivering potential value to actual value. So just this image shows us like the flow. So you have strategy analysis here, you have requirement and design definition. Remember, they say that this kind of falls into it, okay? So, or informs it. Then you have the solution evaluation. So at this end is a potential, at this end it's actual. So for strategy analysis, looks at the need, looks at solution scope. Okay. And requirement analysis and design definition looks at requirements and design. Then solution evaluation looks at proof of conceptual or concept or prototype. So pilot or beta, then operator. So like now when you are able to do your strategy analysis, this helps you when you come to requirement analysis and design because it's what you have built under your strategy analysis. That's what you're going to work with. Well, we are going to look at the current state. You are now moving into the future state. So whatever you decide that, oh, we think this is how it's going to work for us in the future, that is where your requirement and analysis and design definition comes in because that is what you're going to design, right? That is what you're going to analyze in terms of your requirement. Then solution evaluation. For example, when you've gone live and you want to evaluate this, or maybe it's even a proof of concept. Okay, let's even try this out and see if it works or not. Okay, you still go back to what strategy was this built on, what design was this built on. Okay, so when performing strategy analysis, business analysts must consider the context in which they are working. Okay, the same thing we are saying. So consider the context of which you are working. Don't go out of what you're doing. Look at internally at what you're working. So, and how predictable the range of possible outcomes is. So also predictability is very, very important. So when you look at what you're working towards and you be like, okay, I think this is what we may actually deliver, we may actually achieve at the end of the day. Okay. When a change will have a predictable outcome, the future state and possible transition state can typically be clearly defined and a clear strategy can be planned out. So when a change will have a so when you have a predictable outcome, you are able to, look at the future state easily and also transition as well. Okay. So these are made clear because you know what you are about to achieve or what you are working towards at the end of the day. If the outcome of a change is difficult to predict, for example, like it's very complex, you don't even have clarity and all whatnot, the strategy may need to focus more on mitigating risk. So, it's not clear, there's no clarity. So you now start looking at, okay, what's the possible, like what are the risks towards what we're even working towards? Okay. Testing assumptions and changing course until a strategy that will succeed in reaching the business goal can be identified or until the initiative has ended. So you are like your tentacles are up, you are testing assumptions like, okay, let's look at this way, let's test and see what it will give us, Okay, maybe let's change our direction. Okay, instead of having a chatbot, let's just have a notification, let's do it in such a way that we are even able to have clarity, even having at the back of our mind that, oh, there are risks involved in this. Okay. So these tasks may be performed in any order, though they are often performed concurrently. A strategy must be shaped by what is actually achievable. So you shape your strategy according to what is achievable. So a strategy may be captured in a strategic plan, product vision, business case, product roadmap, or other artifacts. So just telling you this is where you can capture your strategy. So the strategy analysis knowledge area includes the following tasks. We are going to go through this in detail, but we are just having an overview. So analyze current state. Just like we mentioned, understand the business need and how it relates to the way the enterprise functions today. Sets a baseline and context for change. So just for example, you come into a company, you're a business analyst, and they tell you, "Oh, do you know what? We just been operating yellow pages, and we've noticed that we don't have customers anymore. They prefer to go online and stuff like that. This is their current state, and they already have an idea of what they want to do, right? Define future state defines goals and objectives that would demonstrate that the business need has been satisfied and defines what parts of the enterprise need to change in order to meet those goals and objectives, just like what we just said. Okay. Now, assess risk. Understand the uncertainties around the change. Considers the effect those uncertainties may have on the ability to deliver value through a change, and recommend actions to address risk where appropriate. So you don't just identify risk. Oh, this will cost us money. Oh, we may not have we may not be able to get like the right solution for this. Oh, and oh, and oh, and oh. But also you try as much as possible to recommend actions to address those risks. So are you accepting it? Are you, pushing it to the third party, and all whatnot? So define change strategy. I love this part. So it performs a gap analysis between current and future state, assess options for achieving the future state, and recommends the highest value approach for reaching the future state, including any transition state that may be required along the way. This has explained itself. So looking at the future state, looking at the current state, and okay, what are we missing here? What do we need to bring in and all whatnot? Then you chart a way forward. You recommend, sorry. So the core concept model in strategy analysis. So let's just move into it. So the business analysis core concept model describes the relationships among the six core concepts. The following table describes the usage and application of each of the core concepts within the context of strategy analysis. Change. So, the act of transition in response to a need. That is what you are here for. So, during strategy analysis, the business analysts define the future state and develop a change strategy to achieve the future state, need, a problem or opportunity to be addressed. So, at this point, you identify needs within the current state and prioritize needs to determine the desired future state solution. A specific way of satisfying one or more needs in a context. Define the scope of a solution as part of developing a change strategy. Stakeholder, a group or individual with a relationship to change need or the solution. Now you collaborate with stakeholders to understand the business need and to develop a change strategy and future state that will meet those needs. Value, the worth, importance, or usefulness of something to a stakeholder within a context. And at this point, you examine the potential value of the solution to determine if a change is justified. At times, do we even need the change? Contest, the circumstances that influence or are influenced by and provide understanding of the change. Now, you consider the context of the enterprise in developing its change strategy. So looking at our strategy analysis, input output diagrams. So for input, you need input it you have the needs, influences, it could be internal, external, and as a stakeholder engagement approach, station result, what did you get from the station? Unconfirmed, listing result, confirmed, designs, prioritize, requirements, prioritize. Then what are the tasks? Analyze current state, define future state, assess risk, define change strategy. Then looking at the outputs, you will get current state description, business requirement, business objectives, future state description, potential value, risk analysis result, change strategy, solution scope. Yeah. So we're going to move into current state, okay, the next time we meet. So I hope this was very of good use to you, and don't forget to subscribe, comment, share, and like. See you next time. Thank you.